Top Hill Recording Podcast, episode 192. Our guest tonight, Grackle.
I'll wait for the dream to run its course, but strangely, I am not asleep, awoken from a hazy bit of mist, uncertain what is coming next. I am fighting with the window to open wide, suffocating on the dust of the day. We are living in the suburbs of Babylon. I don't think that I can understand what you say. We are devils in a sly disguise, while you are angels in the sun. They are rotting from the inside out. We see clearer than an anti-glass. I am fighting with the window to open wide, suffocating on the dust of the day. We are living in the suburbs of Babylon. I don't think that I can understand what you say. A simpler song, misguided and wrong. The days are so long. Hole that I've been digging, they've been dancing on the sun, and bury all that I had laid to rest. Unplug me from the noise at night. I am fighting with the window to open wide, suffocating on the dust of the day. We are living in the suburbs of Babylon. I can understand what you say. We are fighting with the window to open wide, understanding from the dust of the day. We are living in the suburbs of Babylon. I don't think that I can understand what you say. What you say. some were just misplaced. The rising waters washed away the meek. Running out of peace of mind, running from the beast inside, causes unaffected, senses disaffected. I am swept away within the tide. Artificial man could lead us to the promised land. Some things were done in haste, avoiding any waste. He disappeared and left his children once again, running out of peace of mind, running from the beast inside, causes unaffected, senses disaffected. I am swept away within the tide. All we are is empty. All we were was simple charlatans. All we hear is hearsay. All we see is sewing back and forth. And the secret chord was lost in the dinning of the silent isolation of a thought. We disregard our memories of distant, warm and shallow seas. A breath is all we need to leave our very seed, but drown within the uncompleted need. Running out of peace of mind, running from the beast inside, causes unaffected, senses disaffected. I am swept away within the tide. I am swept away. I am swept away. I am swept away within the tide. I am swept away within the tide. Laughing at shadows that are chained to a wall, defined by the sunlight that burns ever cold. The captain says, "Can I help you, my friend? I can see through your clever disguise. Come see my ship, you might take a short ride on a sea filled with losses and lies. Redemption may be closer at might imagine or might understand. Rigging for battle as the smoke fills the air, loading the cannons as the sails start to tear. The captain says, "Can I help you, my friend? I could see through your clever disguise. Come see my ship, you might take a short ride on a sea filled with losses and lies. Redemption may be farther away than some desperate ocean or small hidden bay." Shadows, and he calls for a truce, but it's only a waking dream in some larger truth. The captain says, "Can I help you, my friend? I can see through your clever disguise. Come see my ship, you might take a short ride on a sea filled with losses and lies. Redemption may be evasive and lost beyond understanding at Faustian cost."
Is it Grackle Trio or Grackle?
Tonight it's Grackle Trio, but it's not always Grackle Trio.
All right, so I should just say Grackle. So hey, you guys, how y'all doing tonight?
Great.
Myra,
good.
Steve,
Fantastic.
Travis.
Yeah, you all sounded great. Like,
Very, very
loved the
good.
Thank you.
tunes. Great.
Thank
I know
you.
I said it after every song, but the strings are incredible. They sound great. Great singing, by the way, too. I know I haven't said that, but the songs are well written. Really liked them, but the strings are killer. I know you all mentioned that you normally play with a bigger band, so the strings kind of shine today a little bit more. So, how big of a band do you normally play with?
We're normally a 5 to 6 piece band with a rhythm section, bass and drums, and a second vocalist.
Okay, second
Cool.
vocalist.
Yeah, second vocalist.
I can imagine with all the stuff going on with the separate string harmonies, and I couldn't imagine what a second vocal could add.
Yeah, it'd be great. I love
You could do all kinds
the
of
tunes.
tricks.
Yeah, they're very like kind of reminds me like kind of musical theater, not in a bad way. It's just like this very like very dynamic tunes, especially I think the way you were doing it with just the three of you with the strings. It was very much that. I loved it. Yeah,
Awesome.
like take you on a little journey.
All right, so for first timers, and especially since it's broken down to the trio tonight, we'll go back to the original question of what kind of got us started in this podcast 192 episodes ago, and ask you, when was it in your life, it takes all the way back as early as you can remember, that you knew music was going to be a thing that you were going to be doing, that it was important to you, that it just took you and grabbed you in a different way than maybe it did other people? I guess Miss Myra, we'll start with you. You knew that was coming. You knew I was going to start with you.
I would just say probably day one.
Yeah?
My mother was a concert pianist and a singer.
Oh,
She wanted to be an opera singer, but she sat me at the piano when I was old enough to sit up. So music has always been a big part of my life.
No kidding. So what? I mean, that's insane.
Yeah.
I don't know if we've ever had anybody that's had a mother or parent in general that's been a trained opera musician. So you were always doing it. It was always in the house.
Always.
You heard it before you were born. You're probably one
Yes.
of those. So your first instrument was piano.
Yes, but my first formal training with lessons and things was violin.
Okay. And that was just something you always stuck with?
That, and then in middle school, I branched out to the saxophone. And then when I was in college, I learned the more instruments that you play, the more money that you will make.
Oh, yeah.
So I learned to play all of them, or many of them. And then I taught private lessons on a lot of them for many, many years.
Oh, I could see it when she walked in the door. She was a musical assassin. I could see it.
She's the only saxophone violin player I know,
I
actually.
was going to say, I don't know that I know another
When
one.
you tackle wood and strings, you got the bases covered. You can do everything because generally it's, hey, if you learn strings, you can learn all strings. Or I hear if you can kind of figure out with woodwind instruments, you can somewhat figure it out with others. To have both of those, that's pretty special. That's pretty crazy.
But not brass. Brass made my lips swell up in college when I'd have to take it, and I was like, I'm not playing brass anymore.
No brass. You were just allergic to it. That was all. It was the metal. It wasn't anything else, I'm sure. That's awesome. That's crazy. I knew it. Did you know it? Could you sense it?
I mean, I feel like most of the time, I feel like when people play the violin or like the cello, I mean, I feel like you have professional training to some extent, like to play it with any proficiency. I figured you had played quite a while. So, but from day one,
dude.
That's a long time.
Day one. That's awesome.
Do you play the piano too, or really just kind of stick to the violin now, or do you still play a bunch of everything?
I play piano a little. I mostly give lessons and teach piano back when. I don't teach anymore, but mostly just play the violin, and then saxophone are my two main instruments.
Still play sax?
She plays in this band on sax.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, she does.
It's ridiculous.
Very well.
I bet it's ridiculous. I bet you, heck on it. Secret weapon.
I know. I wish you would have brought the
The
sax.
secret weapon. I wish you would have played both at the same time. How about that?
It's too loud.
I want you to play a double Careless Whisper solo on both at the same time. You could do it. I can see it.
The gauntlet has been laid down, Myra.
I think I'll pass.
All that'll be. Man, ruined my dream, but it's okay.
Steve, what about you? When did you feel like getting started?
Kind of like Myra, I was a piano lesson kid. The story I'm told, because I don't really remember it, is that I pestered my parents for piano lessons.
Huh.
As opposed to my brothers who were sort of forced into taking piano lessons.
Older brothers?
Younger brothers.
Younger brothers.
So they kind of came up behind me, and that was not what they wanted to do the same way.
That's interesting. Are you the oldest?
I'm the oldest of three boys.
That's weird because generally it's the younger brothers that get forced, or that are pestering because their older brother got forced and their older brother is having to do it. But the younger brother thinks the older brother's so cool that they want to do it because the older brother's doing it. It's interesting that you were the one begging to do it.
Yeah. They both took lessons, and my middle brother, Dan, is quite an accomplished drummer. So he went that direction. And youngest brother, he's an excellent accountant.
That's hilarious. Oh, my gosh. So did you play anything else, or was it always piano?
It was like 8 years of piano lessons, and then I hit sort of middle school, high school, and I picked up the saxophone. Like Myra picked up the saxophone, so I played middle school and high school. Played sax. Really put the keyboards down. I was like no longer interested. Yeah, I was no longer interested in them. I was completely sax. And then got to college and played in the university jazz ensemble. Played saxophone.
Where'd you go to college?
Vanderbilt.
Oh,
cool. Wow.
My goodness.
And I was meeting like 0 women in the university jazz ensemble.
Who cares? You're at Vanderbilt.
Well, that was kind of my dream. I
worth it.
cared a heck of a lot because that was that was one of my like prime things. The kind of my parents don't watch this video. It's like that was definitely ahead of grades.
Yeah, I mean, come on, SEC school. You need. Yeah, I get it.
Right. So I played a lot of saxophone, and then the key though, and this is advice for all these young people watching the show. But I joined the choir And I'd never done singing or anything like that before, but I joined the choir, and that's a great place to meet women.
Yeah, there are a lot of women in choir.
And
We'll
I
write
did.
that
I met
down.
my wife in the
Yeah.
choir. So
Don't-
Choir.
I would have written that down a long time ago. but-
yeah, join choir. That's where I met my wife, who is in the band and sings with us and has sang off and on with me for
Oh,
many
cool.
years.
Awesome.
Man, I wish I would have known that. I was in engineering school, so I had the same problem.
Yeah.
But you could still
Like,
have
tell me
joined
what
the
you
choir
did.
in engineering
I know,
school.
man. I wish I would have known that.
I know.
20 years
It's like
ago.
a secret thing. But now that I'm, married off or whatever, I can share that
Yeah.
collected wisdom.
Hey, man. There's a lot of people that would appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Travis. What about you, man?
Well, I guess my journey was a little bit different. So neither of my parents are musicians. My grandfather, my dad's dad, he was an excellent jazz reed player, saxophone player, clarinet player. So I kind of grew up kind of knowing that sort of, but it wasn't really something that was talked about a ton. I know he gigged with all kinds of groups and jazz bands and stuff, but really what grabbed me was I think it was fourth grade, and the Louisville Orchestra came to my elementary school, and they played this little show for kids, whatever it was. I honestly don't remember what songs they played, but that grabbed me in a way that I was like, that is the coolest thing I've ever seen, and I want to play violin. And so I came home and I told my parents that was the coolest thing I'd ever seen, and I wanted to play violin. And so luckily they were very nice, and they were like, sure, Travis, you can play violin, whatever, we'll try it out, And so I started playing violin in fourth grade, and it was fun. And my orchestra teacher in fifth grade, I believe she needed a cello player more than anything. And so she convinced me that it was my idea to play the cello. And I really think that's what happened, because there were no kids in the group that played cello, and maybe she saw some potential there, and she's like, okay, this kid's going to be a cello player, because she also was a cello player, as it turns out. So she convinced me to play cello, and so then I started playing cello, and honestly, I really liked it better than violin. So I just kept with it, and I've always loved it. So I played through orchestra and all that kind of stuff through middle school and into high school, and kind of got burned out on it a little bit. That's kind of a machine, with kids and classical music and the lessons and the auditions, and I kind of got burned out on the machine, and I ended up actually stepping away in college, and I did not major in music, so I majored in business, and I started playing guitar and electric bass, and kind of did some different things, and then after college got back into cello. So that's kind of my journey. I still play a little bit of bass and stuff like that, mandolin. So
Interesting. It's wild to think that the foundation at a young age of music can take you into, number one, different avenues, different music, different instruments, but also lead you kind of like you. There were times in different aspects of my life where when you do something for so long, you do have to step away, take that time away, get burnt out, not do it anymore, and then come back to it and find that love for it.
in retrospect, there's just the how important it is for schools to have that exposure. Because my parents they're just not into music the way I am,
Yeah.
And if I had not had that exposure, I don't know. Maybe I would have gotten it eventually, but that was such a perfect age to discover it,
Oh, yeah.
I really am fortunate that was a thing. I hope that still goes on. I hope they still do that. I hope the Louisville Orchestra still plays in schools, because that was so important to me. And maybe it only grabbed 2 kids that day,
Yeah.
But that certainly was like a kind of a seminal moment, I guess, in my...
The orchestra came to my elementary school, and I was like, wow, I want to play the cello. That's the coolest
That's
thing.
great.
And they said, no, you're too small. You have to play violin. So they put me
I
on
didn't
violin.
know that.
No kidding.
Well, it's important.
What are
That's
the odds?
really, really important. Kids need to hear that. And I don't know what it was about that age. It just grabbed me so much that they played some stuff, and I was like, that is the coolest thing I've ever heard in my life.
That's really funny. I feel like, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like a lot of kids maybe wouldn't pick the cello as like their favorite, like the one they pick out. Like, I don't know, I would pick like the violin.
Truly,
or,
I didn't. I picked violin.
Yeah, I guess for you then more. Yeah,
Little bit over here.
yeah.
Pick the cello.
Like I feel like
Cool. She's
that's
cooler.
funny.
So yeah, she picked cello. The cello actually turns out cello is actually cooler.
Oh, it's a beautiful instrument. Yeah.
I have a feeling Myra could probably play it.
I was
too.
going to say the same thing. I bet you could
Let me
play a
see
little
that
bit of
cello.
everything.
Yeah, it'd be crazy. Some Bach stuff or something.
And that's what 2 cellos, 2 saxophones. You'd be really.
I tell you what, was it like fourth grade-ish?
Yeah.
All right. So I remember
10 years
I
old.
think that fourth grade is the first year, and you guys may know that you are allowed to play the saxophone. I believe it was fourth grade for me.
Why is
It could be, yeah.
There was an age where you're allowed. Like you're finally, I guess, grown enough to play the sax. Because before
That's
that,
because they
it's
sound like a
trumpet,
lawnmower.
Well,
that-
loud as hell.
You don't have the diaphragm.
Well,
to
the
play
thing
it.
about string instruments is you can start kids younger because you can shrink the instruments and they can
Yeah,
still play
three-quarter
with
size, yeah.
There's some physics things going on with reed instruments that they have to be a certain size. So kids have to
makes so much
grow. They have to
sense.
grow into the instrument more so, and you can shrink a violin down to like a third size, and you can teach 3 and 4 year olds how to play, and you can't do that with the saxophone.
You just logically blew my mind.
Yeah,
That's
I thought
why.
it was more of a parent role.
No.
Oh,
No,
sorry, you
it's-
have to be 30 to play the drums. You have to have your own place.
It's physics and like where the holes on the instrument are and stuff. It has to be a certain length to make a sound.
That makes
That makes a lot.
so much more sense.
Your hands have to be so.
Right. Yeah, it's the hands. Yeah, because the holes have to be a certain space, or your hands have to be a certain size.
Another
Exactly.
reason Myra had to play the violin. Your hands were too little for the cello, weren't they?
They're still
know.
too little.
I'm sure you could figure it out. You could probably play the double bass if you needed to. Boom, boom. I could see it now. So you know what? A lot of times when we do this podcast, and this is just kind of thinking out loud, there is a bunch of things that I can kind of grab and look at and watch on YouTube or listen to on Spotify. There's not a lot out there that I heard from Grackle. I think actually Brad sent me. Did I send you the?
You
YouTube?
did not. No, I tried to find you all.
I meant to send you the video of a video of you all playing. I guess live. I'm not 100% sure what it was. It was I don't know, 20 or 30.
What'd you send him? I don't know.
I'm not sure. Was it like looking in a barn area, like on a state?
No, it was kind of like in a studio. It was real backlit white.
Oh, that's the thing the trio did.
The trio.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, also in Fairdale. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. We connected with the guy who was doing sort of this short-lived podcast, and he filmed us and recorded us.
That. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, it looked good, but yeah, that was literally the only thing. I think I found some Grackle on Spotify and listened to it, wondering what I was listening to. It was not you all.
Isn't that cool that we're like completely under the radar and no one knows about us? Isn't that awesome?
Well,
We could probably do a little better on it.
Probably.
That's why we're here, though.
Well, the thing is, well, it's always surprising, and it's always a pleasant surprise because you don't know what you're going to get, especially the way we did it this time. Are doing it now, where you come in, you play your songs, and you just there's no. We know what you sound like immediately. We're in this little room, this intimate space. So, and it was awesome. Like Earl talked about earlier, just the mix with the strings and the interesting dynamics. Number one, the musicianship, the choices with the melodic chord structure and things like that. It's very, very interesting. So when you come in, you finally get to hear it in true form. You can get a true feel for what it is. I almost enjoy coming in blind more than I know.
I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah.
This is the first episode out of like 10 I've done that I hadn't listened beforehand, and it was really cool to come in and be like surprised because I've not done an episode where I didn't have a good time. So it's cool to come in and just hear what kind of without knowing what I'm getting into.
Yeah, it definitely happens less these days, but yeah, to really come in, like you kind of said, it is cool to not have something out there. you need to put something out there.
There was a little bit of tongue in cheek there.
Yeah, there's definitely.
It's a little bit too
We've released
good.
2 albums. We do have 2 albums out there, and they're on Spotify and Apple Music and all
Why
that.
am I?
Yeah, we had a tough time finding them.
Did ya?
Yeah,
Was
I
it
did.
Grackle Trio? Grackle?
With the A. Maybe you had the spelling on?
No, nope. I said
Grackle like the
early.
bird.
That's what I found. It was Grackle. I would listen to Grackle. That's what I was listening to earlier.
Those are a bunch of posers.
This was Grackle like the bird.
Yeah, this is Grackle like the bird.
I was going to ask where the name, like what it was.
Yeah,
so,
comes
cool.
from the bird. And when we were thinking about a name, it made a lot of sense because we were sort of bouncing. You know how bands like are trying to, they're bouncing around this name, that name. And someone in the band, said Grackle. And well, what does that mean? It's like, it's a noisy bird that's actually more colorful when you start to look closely at it than it is. It looks just like a black crow, but it isn't. It's kind of smaller and it glows in the sunlight. And I don't know, it just seemed like, it's got all these like subtleties to it. Yeah, that'll be our mascot. We'll go there. We'll do that.
Perfect.
And it's good to know you all have stuff before you go. I'm going to have to make sure I find the right
Yeah, no
right
kidding,
one
man.
of you all
I
on
really-
Spotify because I want to listen to the recorded stuff.
Yeah, I do too.
Especially now that I've heard it live, like I want to hear. So
But I'm not playing cello on a lot of it though.
Oh,
What are you playing?
That's right.
What are you playing?
I'm a newer addition, so I'm not on the recordings. I'm gonna be on the new album now
Yeah,
that we're doing.
Right.
working on a new album.
I guess we need to start then. Let's go back to the beginning of Grackle. When did the band form in its beginnings?
So I would pin the start date of Grackle to about 2016.
Okay. Oh, wow.
And I had a backlog of songs that I wanted to record. I had the idea of releasing a solo album and had a buddy that I'd played with, a drummer named Jeff Gard. And Jeff is one of the first people I met when I moved to Louisville in 2006. And Jeff's a wonderful drummer. I invited him over and said, let's record some of my stuff. And he's always game.
He's still our drummer.
He's still our drummer. Yeah.
Just to be clear, yeah.
Yeah. And so we started recording, and it was like, oh, this is like coming together beautifully. Like I don't want to just record. I like, let's play live. Let's put it together. And so we found ourselves a bass player. And we performed for a while as a trio with piano, primarily keyboards, bass and drums. And we played out, and it was the first time I'd ever played in a trio format. And I like it. Trio formats are cool. It's lots of space, and you can spread your wings and you can do pretty much anything. But then we kind of like, well, we need something to fatten our sound out. And so we started the long, painful process of auditioning guitar players. And I'm not making this up. This is not an exaggeration. We auditioned and jammed with 14 different guitar players. One after another, they came in. Some of them lingered longer than others. A couple times we thought we'd found the person who'd be in the band, but it just never kind of took. And I don't know if it was like lots of E-flat chords or like the stuff was being written on piano. I don't know what it was, but the guitar players just, they either weren't working or they hated it and they eventually departed. And so at some point, we got the idea of, well, maybe that's the wrong angle. Maybe what we need is not guitar. We need something else. And I looked online and I found a person who had their profile on like Bandmix or musicians.com. I can't remember the name of the place. Bandmix, who plays saxophone and violin. And I was like, oh. So I reached out and met Myra. And
That's a good reach out.
It was a great reach out. It was very.
I'm learning this right now.
Oh, you're having this is part of canon. You need to know that.
I didn't know this.
The
I
Grackle
just thought you
universe.
guys knew each other. Huh?
No, we didn't know each other. So we invited Myra in, and not only did she play those instruments beautifully, she played flute, she played ukulele, she plays guitar. Like you just name it. She intuitively understands almost pretty much any instrument you'd put in her hands.
She can put up a tent. She can light a fire with cotton balls and well wishes. I mean, Myra can do everything.
She's really talented. So Myra joined the band, and we found our sound. Like that was awesome to have Myra in the band. And so we started gigging more with Myra, and then we're like, oh, we need like a counterpoint to Myra. And so we started looking for another string player, and we found a cellist. And the cellist was really, really nice and cool. And we worked with her for a while. And she was on the second album. Myra was on the first album. She was on the second album. Is that right? You were on the first
No, I
album?
was on-
Oh, okay. We'd released the first album without Myra, then met her. And so there was like keyboard, violin, and I played some saxophone on the first album. So it was great to have Myra on the second album. But that person really was not as interested in what we were doing. And then I'm in this other, I'm sorry, I'm getting long-winded here, but this is the story of the band.
We're good.
So
Keep
then
rolling.
I'm in a Pink Floyd recreation called The Dark Side of the Wall. And
Okay.
we've been playing for years and years, usually once a year. And in 19, it was 19. 2019, we played a show and we brought in, we not brought in, but we basically engaged an orchestra to play with us. Something I always wanted to do.
And I was in a group called Orchestra Enigmatic, which was a group with so much potential, but it didn't exactly pan out due to lots of circumstances. But there might be some stuff out there that we recorded. But we did all kinds of like, we did like a Bjork show that probably was the pinnacle of our
And the radio
cool.
hit.
and we did a Radiohead show.
That's awesome.
And we did a Bjork show that was absolutely killer, and it was at this space in Germantown, and that was such a cool night. But anyway, I'm not going to digress. But anyway, we did a collaboration with Dark Side of the Wall,
Yeah. And it was spectacular.
and Steve wrote the arrangements.
Which I'd never written arrangements for an orchestra before. So I had to learn how to do that. I mean, I knew how to sort of play on my MIDI keyboard and have it transcribed, and I knew enough about music to be dangerous, and wrote out the score for 2.5 hours worth of music, which is pretty insane to have taken on.
That
is
It was a
really
lot.
wild.
It was almost like, if you've seen the movie Amadeus, it was almost like my Requiem. It was like being haunted at night by these string parts. But it was a great show. It turned out fantastic. The whole concert's on YouTube if you want to look it up. And but I met Travis through that. That's the whole point.
So yeah, I was one of, I don't know how many were
there
there.
was like 17.
Yeah, 17 people in the group. I think there were 2 cellos, but it was a lot of string players and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Wind players. Yeah, so we had bassoon, and we had the reeds, and
Yeah.
we had the reeds and the strings, and
Those and the
and
whole-
brass. Yeah, it was great.
That is dope.
That-
Yeah,
that show
that would be
wouldn't
really,
suck, would it?
yeah, that would be so fun.
Yeah.
Not
The-
a
Yeah.
bad show.
Yeah.
I was at the last, I think, Dark Side of the Wall show. Aaron called me and had a ticket, and we were literally in the
yeah.
front row. Like, we were in the first row, and that's a cool production also. I mean, that's an awesome show.
When was that?
Was it
The last one was 2023. It was like February or March at the Brown Theater.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
that's
was
where you
awesome.
were?
It was awesome. Yeah, front row. It
So
was
the
cool.
year we did it, was that 2019?
2019.
2019. So we did it at the Brown Theater in 2019.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
how I ended up meeting Steve.
Yeah. A little aside here. This is just another thing, but we had one dress rehearsal with the orchestra and the band in my basement. So we had 9 people who were in Dark Side of the Wall, including the 3 background singers, sax player, core band, and then we had the 17 string players. We brought chairs and
In a
whatever.
different room.
So
In
you
a
got a
different
big
room.
basement, yeah.
Well, the basement's not.
We
as
were
big.
in a different room, so it was interesting. We had like a monitor, but we were in different rooms,
Yeah.
playing with
And
each
there's a
other.
conductor. Thank God, there's a conductor.
Yes, there
Joe
was a
Dunn, by
conductor.
the way. Shout out Joe Dunn, amazing conductor. And so he was hearing sort of and just led us through the whole thing. So we had one rehearsal, and then we played at the Brown. And I tell you, it went darn good.
It did, yes, it was good. It was really fun.
And for me to have met Travis, it was like triple bonus. So it wasn't long after that we invited, maybe a year or so, that we started really thinking about a new cello player. We invited Travis in, and that's really where we got the core instrumentation. And then Michael Lankford stepped in on bass about 6 months ago, replaced our bass player. And that's the band that's working on the album now.
So you are currently working on something.
Yeah, working on an album with, how many? We got about 13 songs in various states of completion. All of them have drums down.
It was more completed until the data loss incident of
No.
2022.
Oh. That's like makes my stomach hurt to think about.
Everybody listening, please know, all
Back up your stuff.
hard drives fail. All
man.
hard
So we
drives
sort of had to start
fail.
over. It was
man.
nowhere near done, but
It's
yeah,
my-
we had
Still,
a lot of tracks,
Yeah.
and we got to start over. But it's okay. It's going to be good.
It's better.
So y'all recording it yourself?
Yeah, I have a recording studio.
Steve is a very, he's a fountain of knowledge on recording. I try to learn something every time I go over there.
Man. I could not. Yeah, I've
It
lost,
really hurts.
It really
my,
does.
it-
I can
even
imagine.
like I've just like demos at the house that I've had crash, and you're like, oh god, like, and to do any part of an album, I would.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd be
lost
so
all
pissed.
that and lost like a lot of other things.
Oh, yeah, I'm
it was
sure.
just it was stupid.
You really start weighing the cost of the forensic data recovery.
Oh, I
He
did
tried.
it. I did it. I spent like $1,200 trying to get it
didn't work.
recovered, and it was one of those like, oh, we can recover 94%.
You were 6%.
I was just I am the poster child for back up your dang files.
Puke. Vomit.
Yep. Anyway,
Oh my God.
it's gonna be better now.
Speaking of Brent, we're
Really?
still good on room over on that computer. All right,
Yeah.
sweet, nothing stopped. Oh, that happened a couple weeks ago. Back up everything and then erase.
Yeah, that's tough, man. Like big time.
So
It's gonna happen.
what just kind of listening to the stuff that you guys come up with, what is the, like, growing up and even now, what do you listen to? What's your inspiration? What is the type of music? Is there a certain type of music that you gravitate towards? How do you get to where we come up with the sound of Grackle?
We're probably all come from different places, I would say.
Well, let's hear it.
Yeah, talk about,
Let's
talk
hear
about
it.
your influences.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I listen to, everyone says they listen to everything, but I listen to, I started with a lot of classical stuff and classic rock. Say that was probably my childhood, was classic rock and classical music. And then I kind of got into like the Grateful Dead and Fish and like, improvisational jam band kind of stuff. And in my adult life, I'm kind of getting into more kind of noise and experimental stuff that annoys my other bandmates a lot. I'm kind of I listen to a lot of different things, but I'd say that's somewhere between Grateful Dead and noise.
All right. Interesting. Very interesting. Myra?
Well, my mother took care of all the classical bases for me. Bach to Mozart and everything in between. And then my dad was the opposite end of the spectrum of classical rock. So I love it all, and it's kind of just according to what mood I'm in as to what I listen to. So
All right. So if you're picking me up right now at my house to go to a gig, what are you listening to? What's in the car? What's on right now?
it depends on my mood. Bluegrass, classic rock,
Evidently, you got to drive down this hill. I'm going to go out there.
I'm a
and
sucker for
listen to what
bluegrass, too.
classical.
I'm a sucker for some bluegrass myself. That's pretty much all I do these days is pick around a little bit. I got stuck in a bluegrass rut there for a minute. So what's your favorite bluegrass stuff? And do you do a lot of fiddle playing? Do you do a lot of fiddle tunes and stuff like that?
I have. I used to live in Alabama where the Fiddlers Convention is held every
no
year.
kidding.
So, yeah. So I will go down there and you just walk up to any group of farmers that are playing and you just jump in and start playing. And it's all over the Athens State College and all over the campus, that's a really neat kind of outlet. If you get tired of that group, then you just walk over to a different group and
The battlest
play with them.
fiddling farmers in the South, my man. That would be amazing.
Yeah, I lived in Alabama for 3 years. So.
Whereabouts?
What part?
Yeah.
Athens.
Athens.
Yeah, where they
Okay.
hold the Fiddlers Convention at.
That's crazy.
I lived in Auburn for a couple years. So,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
So we had a group on. I cannot remember their name, but they were from Athens, and they were coming up when REM and who's the other Athens group that's
B-52s.
B-52s.
Alabama Shakes.
Nope. No, they were
talking
coming
Athens,
up
Georgia.
at the same time as those guys. And Georgia. Yeah, I'm thinking Georgia, not Alabama. Where's Athens, Alabama?
It's about 17 miles over the state line.
No kidding.
So it's right in the north.
So like by where's the
Huntsville.
Rocket? Huntsville.
Yeah, say
Yeah.
Huntsville. Yeah.
It's 15 minutes from the rocket.
Okay.
They took the
Oh,
rocket
okay.
down, by the way.
Did they really? Oh no.
That rocket's been there for at least 50 years, and they
That's
took
some
it down.
I did not know
bullshit.
that,
And I
yeah.
need to sign a petition. What in the hell?
Little side note.
Breaking news.
Wow.
Is there a petition that can be signed about this rocket takedown? What is this? They hate NASA?
Yeah, this has changed the whole mood of the podcast.
This is
now.
ridiculous, you guys. Myra, why did you not tell us this sooner?
I don't know. You let me talk. Here's what you get.
When did this happen?
Oh, about a month ago.
A month ago, I knew this
Told
was
you it was
breaking.
breaking
It really is breaking news.
Yeah.
This is disgusting.
They
I'm
said it
disgusted by
structurally
this.
wasn't sound anymore, so they had to take
Oh,
it down.
okay. Well, can they
I
put
think
up
they're
a
going to
new rocket?
replace it with something, but I don't know what.
It better be a rocket, Myra.
I'll let them know. I'll
Statue of
put in a
Elon
good
Musk.
word.
I will not drive down 65 again south
Driving a Tesla.
from.
No, I'll protest that whole highway.
I will go a different way, 75 south. Somewhere south. That's ridiculous. Seriously, I love that rocket. That is a childhood staple of mine. Driving by that on the way to Destin, Florida, even stopping by there and looking up and being like, why is there a rocket in Alabama? Did anybody else ever think that? Why in the world? I get it now, but it was just
Yeah, as
weird.
a kid, yeah, I was like,
Tennessee, now we're in Alabama. Why is there a rocket here? Anyway, damn it, man.
that's really disappointing.
It broke my heart, Myra. Golly.
Damn it, Myra.
Sorry. Steven.
Yes, sir.
Some
I should
influences.
say Steve, not Steven. I feel like I just scolded
I
you.
respond.
Did I just scold you?
No,
I didn't mean
no,
to.
Steven's fine.
Okay,
Steven's
Steve.
fine.
So what about you? What
So I was driving over here today, and I was listening to the band Cabin. Local band, which I really enjoy, and that gives you like I love Radiohead and that kind of style of sort of moody indie rock. Kind of cut my teeth on progressive rock. First album I ever bought on vinyl was Kansas Left Overture, and if you know that album, it's kind of like how old was I when I got that? Maybe like 12, 13, and that album basically says that you can create music that does anything, like goes anywhere, like forget rule. I mean, I guess there's rules or whatever, but it shattered them for me. Long songs, epic arrangements, soaring vocals, a violin player in a rock band. I mean, it really had a profound impact on me. And it was a gateway drug to older Genesis with Peter Gabriel, King Crimson, Yes, Van de Graaff Generator, some of those kinds of like Rush, some of those kinds of bands in the 70s. I really dug it. And that kind of music is survived. Like it is not gone. It's not just a 70s thing that came and went. And I've continued to follow bands that have sort of followed that particular muse. And it just has influenced, I think, my listening, and then it permeates some of my writing, I think. But what I really got out of a lot of those bands is just the fact that you can create music without a sketch pad, if you will, without color by numbers, and that as long as you are feeding your muse and following your inclinations, there are things that to be discovered and found and uncovered, and that's just been a motif for mine in my writing.
All right, man. I think you know what time it is, Earl.
Yeah, it's time for some questions.
We have the dead question.
Yeah, now you got
I love these rock questions.
some new. Yeah, these
are
Brad's questions, Weston's questions.
Okay.
I'm filling in, so I get to do them. And the first one I think is everybody's favorite. And Myra, we'll start with you. What's just a non-music thing about you that you want people to know? And it can be something simple. It can be something just like a fun fact or a hobby. I know it's not everyone's favorite question.
I'm guilty of having a hobby where I dig in the dirt all day because I like to metal detect everywhere.
Oh,
so I'm always digging up neighbors' yards.
What's the best thing you found?
Really?
I found a wedding ring on the beach about a year ago, and it had two initials in it and the last name. And I was able to track them down on Facebook, and I sent it to them. Yeah.
Wow.
Nuh-uh.
So that was fun.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, and be like, for $500, I'll give you your ring back. That's always a good message to send.
All right,
Just
so-
messing with you.
No.
I've got a good story. Brent, you might not. You might. All right, so my brother used to live in my house, and it's just right down the road here. I mean, and up on this, there's no telling what you can find up here. But anyway, he had family members, in-laws that would metal detect. They love metal detecting, so they'd come out on his now my property, which is just flat land, and they'd metal detect. And his neighbor one morning after a night of drinking in the garage with him and another guy, they pulled up and they saw the guy's metal detecting. They put it in reverse and they backed up in my brother's driveway. And then they reached down and they grabbed a handful of coins and they threw it out the window and then they took off driving and they left. It was the craziest. I wasn't there, but my brother was pissed. He's like, man, that's so disrespectful. He thought it was disrespectful. I just want to let you know it wasn't funny, but it's pretty funny.
I think it's funny.
And my neighbor's a retired art teacher, elementary art teacher. He was probably retired at that point in time. So it's hilarious to think that we'll just assume that it was his friend that did it. Anyway, sorry about that. Steve.
So something about me. I have a COVID hobby that I picked up that is occupying a lot of my attention and energy, and that is astrophotography.
Ooh, cool.
So
Really?
Yeah.
Does that take hours and days? Like, how does that work?
Yeah. So a lot of it is me in my driveway at night with my telescope, enjoying just the night sky, very peaceful, and capturing images of different sorts of things. And then I bring them in and process them when it's cloudy, and then share them out on social media.
So this is kind of, I can edit this out if you want me to. Do you live close to city? Is there
It's close to not great in terms of I've got street lights and I'm in a neighborhood with it's not great for stargazing, but there are ways around that in terms of filters you can throw into your telescope, and I just enjoy that. It's a very solitary kind of hobby, and creates sort of peace and center for me.
That's very, very
Really
cool.
neat. Yes.
That is
I mean,
very,
space
very
is,
cool.
is really cool. So
Space is cool.
it's not the simple
one
way
of my
to put it,
favorite
but
things.
it's really cool.
Yeah.
I
Well,
love
just to
space.
think like the stuff that they're coming, not only amateur photographers doing what you do, the images they can capture, but
Oh yeah, like the big images that they're
it's
getting, oh yeah,
insane, some of the stuff that
I'll get
that's
high and look at those.
Yeah, what's coming out of the what's coming out of the web and what's been out of the Hubble for the last decade and a half is it's just mesmerizing.
It's crazy.
It's so cool. Yeah. What about you, Travis?
Well, I guess, so I guess I don't know. I have a family business is a elevator contractor. So I'm a fourth generation elevator
Really?
elevator person, elevator man.
That's pretty
So-
awesome, actually.
So I'm your elevator fact person. I guess that's the
You know everything about
Everybody
this.
needs an elevator guy, so I'll make sure to keep that in mind.
Yeah, no kidding.
Think, I got a guy.
Now you know the guy that does it. That's pretty awesome, actually.
Yeah, I think that's a fun.
I know.
fun fact.
I have a friend.
it's a cool industry. It is. It's
I have a friend
it's
that
fun.
does that for a living.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. You may actually know him because it's probably a pretty small industry.
It is.
at
It's
this
very
point.
much. It is very much a. We joke about it. It's called the the FBI method, friends, brothers, and in-laws when it comes
Yeah.
to elevators. So it seems like everybody knows everybody.
Yeah, I tried to get. I was like, "Come on, dude, just hire me, get me hired. I got a good job, but I'd rather come and do something like that." The attraction was he worked 9 to like regular hours.
Yeah.
Like, oh, Saturdays, you got Saturdays off? Let me come work for you, man. All right, what's the number 2 there, buddy?
Yeah, next question. This one's definitely more fun, and you can either answer this as a band or if you just want to do it individually, because I know you all have been playing a while. Tell us like a nightmare gig or a funny or interesting experience you've had at a gig that you'd like to share. You don't have to share names if you don't want, but we always love names if you have them.
So this isn't a Grackle story, but this is a terrible gig story. You want to hear it? Just
Yeah.
a
Yes.
terrible
Oh, it doesn't
no.
matter. Yeah. Any bad
So
story.
this goes back
We
to the
love bad
beginnings
stories.
of Dark Side of the Wall, and we'd put a lot of effort into getting this thing going. And our first couple of shows were at a venue called Coyotes. Y'all remember
Oh
that?
yeah, dude.
Remember Coyotes? So we played our
Oh,
first
yeah.
couple shows there, and so I think it was our third show, third year, maybe second year, and we had put. Like I'd been going to the venue all week long, and we'd been hanging stuff. And I mean, we put tons of effort into this, and our rehearsal schedule was insane. So we were excited, and we had a good turnout. Like we went to perform, and there was a packed room. It was awesome, and we had in-ear monitors for the first time, which we hadn't used before. And we had our own engineer in the corner who was giving us a glorious in-ear mix. It was beautiful. I was in the middle of the mix. Everybody was, and we were just performing our brains out. It was awesome. But unbeknownst to us, while we were sort of in this audio bliss, our sound engineer was doing shots. And not just, like the enjoyable cocktail we've had, but kind of way above and beyond.
Shots.
And it was shot.
That one.
And we know that because we did watch the video of the show after the fact, and you could see it all unfolding. And I'll tell you why it was worth watching the video at the end. But he got belligerent. And at some point, the sound started to suffer. So one of our friends went up to the sound guy and said, "Hey, listen, could you do whatever?" I don't know what he asked for, but it was something that was not happening for the audience in the mix. And the guy got enraged, and he went over to the board and he just randomly turned every button in Vader on the board. And we're just jamming along to, I don't know, something off Dark Side of the Moon, probably as serene and peaceful as you could be. And the system's screaming, and the people are holding their ears and whatnot. And it ended up being a disaster that almost people left, and it was terrible. He fought the bouncer, did not get arrested.
Damn,
Probably should have been arrested.
The bouncer,
So that was and that's just the worst gig I've ever had, because it was just, the result of just foolishness and whatnot. And we basically said the band is done. And fortunately, it wasn't. We kind of had a chance to recover and do it again. But that is unparalleled. I've never had a worse experience than somebody.
It's crazy how a sound person really makes or breaks a show. I was at a little festival this weekend where the sound was just bad the whole weekend. It was just, it was horrible the whole time. And I was like, man, this sucks. Whoever they hired were just it was bad.
Really?
Yeah. It was Nick Jamerson played, and it was, it'd have been if you'd have just heard him out in the world, you wouldn't have probably even paid attention to him. It was bad sound. And it's crazy.
It's unfortunate because it can make a great person sound bad.
I played baseball growing up, and always it's equated to a catcher. A really good catcher makes you feel like a good pitcher, and a really bad catcher makes you look like shit. And it's very much the same with the sound man. A really good band, and as a musician, I feel like you can watch a show with bad sound and still know that they're rocking. But if you don't know, I don't know how many times I've been to a show with bad sound and people go, "This band fucking sucks," and I'm like, "No, they're good. The sound is shitty, but they're a good band." It was a rough weekend.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thought a fun time, but the sound was horrible. So,
You know what? Good times can be negated.
Yeah. Fortunately, Grackle we haven't had an experience with the malevolent spirit or anything like that. We've had good sound people and folks that are, not as good. But along with my message to people listening to please back up your files, is to, hug and appreciate your sound engineer.
No doubt.
Find your best sound engineers and hang on to them.
Hang on.
Kiss their ass.
Yes. They are worth every penny, and probably worth a lot more than they get paid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, there's nothing like a good sound person that you can just know that when you're up there. Because, kind of like your story, I've done shows too where the stage mix is great, and then people after goes, "Well, you couldn't hear anything." And they go, "What? Yeah. It sounded awesome up on stage," and then it really kind of kills your mood if you feel like you did well, and then everyone tells you it sounded like shit.
Hey, happens.
But yeah, well. Did everyone have a story, or is that the one that y'all kind of wanted to share?
Give you. I can't top that story, but I can tell you. I can tell you one that I found quite humorous. This was some years ago. It was I get hired to do just random gigs, and so sometimes I play a lot of church services, especially around the holidays. So this was just a random one of those Christmas Eve situations. So it's a Christmas Eve nighttime service. They're usually very crowded.
Oh yeah.
And there's almost no rehearsal time, so you're sight reading, and it's a little bit of high pressure, but I mean, I'm used to it. It's not a big deal. But this particular one, we get there, and it was me, and it was another violinist that I know and love, and she's very good. And then this other violinist came that I had never seen or heard of, and I immediately was taken aback. She was wearing these very big earrings and a very high turtleneck. And you cannot play violin wearing very big earrings and a very high turtleneck. It's not possible. It's just not possible. So I was looking at her like, that's alarming, but we'll see how this goes. And then we proceeded to start the service, and like I said, it was me and this another lady that I really like, and she's an excellent player. And the two of us, so when you have a string trio, there's nowhere to hide.
Yeah, no.
So the two of so I know the audience. I don't know what they were thinking, but it made but this one person who I honestly to this day I don't remember her name. I don't know if she's ever touched the violin before or after. And we just sounded terrible. and there was an organ that could luckily cover us up some, and it was just like I've never seen anything like it this day or since. It was almost like someone had called her and she was like, "Yeah, I'll play violin today. I've never tried it before."
I'll give it a shot. Yeah, just to go.
And it was just such a crowded service, and normally, and it's relatively, it's usually like the hymns you're very familiar with and Christmas songs and that kind of thing. And it was very high stress, and me and the lady that I know, that we still laugh about it every time we see each other. We're like, remember that one gig that we did?
Palm sweat.
Oh yes. It was a very sweaty. It was a very sweaty occasion. I was glad. I just ran to the car at the end, but yeah, that was very uncomfortable. But
Oh my God.
what can you do? We were there and we did it and we left.
Just glad there was an organ player.
Yes. Luckily, the organ player was louder than us, and he knew too. I mean, he knew. So he pulled,
I got it, yeah.
no pun intended, pulled out all the stops.
Myra, got anything? No,
That's
you good?
yeah. Well, I'll go on to the last question. Then I know, Steve, you kind of answered this one already, but what is the last local artist that you've listened to? It can be local, like to the city. It can be more regional if you don't listen to tons and tons of really local stuff, but just like a local artist that's the last one you've listened to. And you can start if you want, Myra.
I listened to Willem Muir.
Oh, yeah. They're awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
I saw Colin the other day. Like,
Yeah, they're
Brouhaha.
excellent.
Yeah.
Oh,
good
okay, yeah,
dude. Yep.
Brouhaha Fest.
Cool band.
Yeah, other than Cabin, shout out to a band called Smothered in Bush.
Smothered in Bush.
Smothered in Bush. It's an all-female band. We got to play with them.
They do bush covers.
Bush covers. They're like a female Bush tribute band. That's how they started.
amazing. That's the best band name in the history of cover band names.
It is. This is 4 women who rock, and what they really did that kind of blew my mind is when they play the Bush songs, which they did great, but when they do their originals really kick ass.
Right on, man.
Really good band. So that's shout out to Smothered in Bush.
For me, I'll shout out to Sad Black Lab.
Oh, love Sad Black Lab. I just
I
saw them.
I played with them at the Tom Waits tribute thing last night, and they're great.
They
And,
are killer. That guy's.
heard
You got to get him in here, man. They
Greg
are
is amazing.
Greg's voice
And
is
Emily
amazing.
Miller
Miller,
on
yeah.
violin, and Ellis. I could remember his
Yeah,
last
Ellis
name. Yes.
Waldell. Yeah, I think it is something like. They
Yeah,
are so
they're-
good.
they
I
are
saw them
all-
on Friday. Yeah,
They're so solid, and I believe they're having a new album release on
Yep.
I think it's November 10th
yeah.
and 11th.
Everybody
They are
should listen to that new
killer.
album.
It's so kind of, it's eerie and like kind of spooky. Like it's like I feel like their season kind of right now. I love their sound. It
Yes.
is
Right on.
great. Yeah,
Very good.
Wanna check
Yeah,
that
their
out.
new
Glad you
album is
mentioned them.
so like.
So Emily played with
so
me.
good.
She was in our group at
Oh,
the
cool.
the-
Emily's so nice.
Yes.
Yeah, I've known her for a little bit around open mics and stuff, and she is. I tell her every time I see her because every time she plays and I see her, she's so much better than the time before. And the time before was already great. And I'm
Yes.
like, damn, Emily, you can play the hell out
Yeah,
of that.
she brings a
violin.
lot to the table.
Yeah.
Have
Absolutely.
you seen her like play and then sing something completely different while she's playing? It's like it's crazy that she could split her like.
It's great.
It's really hard.
Yeah, I can barely. I just strum, and I can barely
It's
strum
hard.
and sing.
I'm not very good at singing and playing either. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's hard.
That's a great band. I'm glad you mentioned them. They're one of my favorites in town. Like
Nice.
I know they're kind of out
Awesome.
of Lexington a little bit, but
Yeah.
they're one of my favorite bands around. Yeah,
Awesome.
Really
Excellent.
tight band.
Noted.
Yeah, you got to get them
All
on
right,
here.
check it.
Check
So
that
for our listeners that want to either listen to you like ourselves,
Yeah, including
find you
us.
on Spotify, come see you. Give us where we can find you, where we can find your dates, where we can listen to you, all those things.
So we have a website, grackleband.com. And I think probably the place we keep most contact with folks is on Facebook. So if you look for Grackle Band, Facebook/Grackle Band,
All right.
you'll find every gig. You can follow us that way, not miss anything. We will promise not to sell your name to people selling things and just hit you up with like, this is what's going on with our band.
All right. Awesome. Yes. It's been great.
It's been great.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
so good to meet y'all and hear your songs. It's been fun.
Ditto.
Awesome.
Thank you for inviting us to this awesome space.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys.